Namaste, friends. I wish you all a very happy Diwali. As you all know, Diwali signifies the victory of light over darkness and of dharma over adharma. And I wish that in every one of your lives, you will have this manifest. So, today I'm going to share a few thoughts with you, and these are going to be about an ideology. The ideology is called Islamofascism, and it's basically an ideology that is threatening to take over the world in many different forms, on the ideological level, on the political level, and on the social level. So now we have to understand what this ideology represents. As you can imagine from the word Islamofascism, well, this term was coined you know in the 20th century, and it is basically used to represent a form of totalitarian dictatorship and a totalitarian imposition of a certain kind of law and order on the people that are subjugated under this particular ideology. So throughout the Middle East, after the colonial enterprise by the European nations in the 20th century and onward, we have seen that a lot of totalitarian governments have come into power, and none of them happen to be fully liberal or western like. Now, I'm not going to expect these governments to be like western governments because they are different. I understand that. The problem is that the imposition of this type of ideology spills over into the rest of the world, and it causes problems for the rest of the world. Now, we've seen examples of this actually, and the most recent example is the terrorist attack on Israel on the 7th of October, which was actually fueled by this type of an ideology. According to this ideology, God intervenes at historical moments, and he interacts with a prophet and delivers his message through these prophets to the rest of the humanity. Now, we know that according to our tradition, everything that is present in this universe, both manifest and manifest, is all Brahman. And we worship Ishvara, one Ishvara we worship in various manifestations. That is the Advaita Vedanta view. Now, this is in conflict with what this ideology says. Now, according to this ideology, not everyone can access the word of God, or not everyone can reach God while they are still alive. But our tradition says that anybody can reach God and anybody can access the knowledge of the self and that of divine creation. So, because there is a reliance on prophets, and they postulate that the last prophet has already descended on earth, it becomes very difficult to then, for someone who believes in that tradition, to challenge or to expect anything different, because it is considered as a system which is perfect for all time, and the entire world is expected to follow this type of a system. So this has some problematic elements, obviously, because this is in direct conflict with all the other civilizations in the world, and who believe in their own narratives. So this type of a belief system, if it is imposed by using violence and deception, as it has been done historically in invasions and so on, it's going to be a completely adharmic movement. And so the people who believe in dharma, the people who are required to stand up for dharma, will have to eventually, you know, give a response to this type of a movement. And the effects of these ideologies are the greatest upon the people who subscribe to these ideologies, because they are actually imposing this upon themselves. And there are a lot of people who are unwilling to actually participate in this, but they have no choice. So the treatment of minorities and others uh, is very bad in all of these countries that subscribe to Islamofascism. And one one can be subjected under brutal blasphemy laws. If you're an apostate, or if you have any kind of a difference of opinion, it will be brutally suppressed. And so the people of these countries are facing the maximum uh, you know constraints on their freedoms. So this is an ideology that is keeping them hostage, that is keeping innocent people hostage. uh, well, I shouldn't call them innocent, but they're keeping civilians hostage under the threat of eternal hell or eternal damnation, or even in the present world, the manifestations of that hell, which are totalitarian, brutal censorship on what you can think and what you can express. So, the idea that God is not accessible to everyone except through these prophets is actually a very offensive thing for the rest of the civilizations, because it proclaims that only a special group of people had the privilege of having their prophet, and it assumes that the rest of humanity is not capable of having their own connection with the divine. Of course, we come from a tradition that says that everybody is inherently divine themselves and they only have to realize it. And the only thing that is stopping them from realizing it is ignorance. So, these are some of the issues that are present.